Hey friends, Kylie here, your host of Dream On with Kylie O'Miller, back for another episode with another inspiring friend, teammate, and role model for all female athletes around the world. Thank you as always for tuning in. These episodes are recorded from a live Zoom webinar I hold through the KO17 Lacrosse app and constructed into this Dream On podcast you have found here. I hope you're gaining some insight from these episodes from some of the people that I have met through my lacrosse journey that have imposed so much of their wisdom on me. We've got another special guest this week, and I'm pumped to get right into it. This episode, I sat down with none other than Taylor Cummings, who many consider the GOAT of women's lacrosse. The only person, female or male, to win the Tewarton Award 3 times. For those of you who don't know what the Tewarton Award is, think of the Heisman Trophy in football. That is our award for the best female and best male lacrosse players in college each year. Taylor did it 3 years in a row. Outside of her incredible list of accolades in the lacrosse world, which includes gold medals with Team USA and national championships with the University of Maryland, to name a few, Taylor is a legend off the field as well. She inspires a great number of people, young and old, all over the world to become a better them through their personal goals and fitness, teaching the sport that has given her so many opportunities to shine to young girls all over the country, and pushing for bigger and better in not only the lacrosse community, but in the world in general. Through this episode, we chat through her experiences on the lacrosse field, her bravery through internal struggles as a female athlete with challenges like body image and self-confidence, and some of her highest moments and the work it took to get there. TC is someone I am grateful to have met through my professional lacrosse career, a teammate who pushes you to strive for more without even having to physically be in her presence, just by knowing that she's pushing herself to be her very best and allowing that to motivate you. I hope you all can gain that sense from her as well as you listen in.
Hello, hi guys. Hi, Kaylin.
Awesome. All right, just getting a couple more in here. Got a good crew today. How's everybody doing? Yep, we got our notes. We're ready to go. I love it. You girls can keep your cameras on, off, whatever you're comfortable with. We know that you're there, so we appreciate you being here. And we're really excited about it. So I'm going to hop right into it for sake of time, but thanks again for being here, girls. I know that you know this is through the KO17 Lacrosse app, but I always want to be able to share the wealth and the knowledge and the experience that I have with you girls. And one of the best things that I have gotten from the sport of lacrosse is the teammates and the people around me that have taught me so much, not only about lacrosse on the field, but leadership and life and everything off of it and all the memories that we have together. So I'm excited, super, super excited to have my good friend Taylor Cummings here today. I know you guys know the name, and I know you know her as a player and as a coach. And I know that you girls have also been taking a lot of her virtual training over the last couple months as well. We've done together some of it too. So I'm excited to just kind of chat with her. And if you guys have any questions throughout it, just make sure that you use the chat feature. I'll make sure that we're kind of getting to those as well. But we had a chance to kind of get through some questions on Instagram, and we'll get to those as well. But I'm excited about it. And yeah, Taylor, thanks for being here. You want to introduce yourself a little bit to our friends here?
Thanks, Kai. Hi, girls. My name is Taylor Cummings. I am in Maryland right now. So I grew up in Maryland. I graduated from the University of Maryland in 2016, so 2 years older than Kylie. I am on the WPLL fight with Kai, and we're on US together. So I've been a part of the US program since 2013. So going on my 7th year with the US team, and am now coaching high school as well. So I'm going to be starting my 4th year of coaching at McDonough School, which is where I went to high school. So lots of lacrosse in my life, but have learned a ton of lessons and never had any kind of access like you guys do growing up that you guys have now. So really jealous of you guys just for all the resources you have, but excited to be here and answer whatever questions you may have.
Awesome. Well, thanks, T. I know that she was very humble in her introduction, but girls, I have a nice little list here. Some of you may know her as the GOAT, but she is a 3-time Tewarton Award winner. She's the only person to ever do that, men's or women's. She played at University of Maryland. She was a 2-time national champion, 4-time first team All-American. She won a gold medal with Team USA in 2017. She's most definitely a WPL All-Star. Like she mentioned, we played on the fight together. Founder of Taylor Cummings Lacrosse, and like she mentioned, the McDonough girls lacrosse head coach. So like she said, a lot of lacrosse, but most definitely one of the most talented people out there, but an awesome person as well. So I'm excited to tap into that. But what we like to start with here on our Wednesday Wisdoms, I like to start it off on a good note, on a good start. And we like to do a lot of this stuff with our Kylie's Corner feature on the app. We kind of work on a lot of like habits, a lot of journaling, a lot of really tapping into the inner part of it and what goes on up here so that we can put our best foot forward out on the field. So Taylor, 3 things here. Something you're thankful for today. What do we got?
I took my dog to the vet and she's healthy. So always she's like my little fur child. She's over there asleep on the couch. She uses pillows like a real person. So thankful she's healthy. She's going on 6. So happy she's good to go.
Awesome. Something that you are proud to say that you have accomplished today.
Oh, I had a grueling run this morning. It was one of those where you step on the treadmill or go out for a run and the first step hurts and it never stops. And I finished. So it was really painful. And one of the times I'm glad I wasn't in the gym, but got it done.
Love those when they're over, right?
Exactly.
And lastly, something that you're pumped to go chase tomorrow, this week, in the coming months, etc.
We have a U.S. call tonight talking about, what's currently going on in our country and, increasing the diversity and inclusion within lacrosse itself. And I'm excited to be a part of a team that's willing to kind of do those self-checks and continue to, increase awareness and educate ourselves and others. So I think that's something that I'm looking forward to after this. And I think it's going to be a long-term goal for all of us. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
Agreed. I'm really excited about that as well. Girls, we're going to wrap this up around 7:55, 7:57 so that we can hop on that call. But we're going to get a ton of awesome stuff in first. But I know you mentioned before you grew up in Maryland. I know a little bit about your family and how you grew up, right? You have a younger sister just like I do, which is awesome. But how did you start? How did you start playing lacrosse? Why did you fall in love with the game in the first place? Did your parents, your family life play a big role in you playing sports growing up? What was the introduction like for you?
So I didn't start playing lacrosse until I moved to Maryland. So I was originally born in Virginia. Spent the first 5 years of my life, which I don't remember much of, being in Richmond. And it wasn't until I came to Maryland that I saw a lacrosse stick. I had no idea what it was. I grew up playing soccer and basketball. My dad played soccer in college. So ESPN was always on. He was always, outside, shooting baskets, playing soccer. And, I think being his first kid, he was like, all right, we're going to have an athlete and we're going to go outside. I'm going to make her like it. And luckily for him, I loved it all. So, grew up kind of playing outdoors with him. I grew up on a street with all boys. So we played a ton of sports, roller hockey, skateboarding, backyard games into lacrosse and soccer and whatnot. And lacrosse was actually the last sport I picked up. So I started first real team was soccer and then basketball and then lacrosse. And just kind of, I played all 3 of those throughout high school all the way to my senior year. And ended up around like 8th grade, 9th grade, choosing lacrosse as the sport I'd play outside of school. I went to McDonough, which was a good 30 minutes away. And my mom finally was like, you need to decide one sport you're going to play outside of high school because I can't drive you to, everywhere in an evening. And I chose lacrosse mainly because I loved the people and I loved who my teammates were. And they were the people that I got most excited to go see and hang out with and play with. And I think that lacrosse culture is what drew me in initially. And I think it's what's kept me here. Oh gosh, almost 20 years.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Long time.
Don't do Yeah, I love that. I know that like just being around you for the last couple of years, something that you always preach is teammates, and always preach, how you can be a good teammate, but also that, your teammates are the ones that push you on and off the field. And I love that you mentioned that has been something from the very start, because that's not something that just kind of pops up in college or just pops up in the pro leagues or on Team USA. Like it's something from the very get-go that you want to have that relationship with your teammates and, ultimately push each other. So I know you mentioned that you played other sports, but what are some of the things that you can say about what you learned from playing those other sports? I know it's a common question that we both get a lot, and how can you kind of preach to these girls and any of your girls at McDonough or at your clinics and things that, it's a good thing to be playing other sports as well as lacrosse while you're growing up?
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of playing other sports. I'm a huge fan of doing other things. So choir, art, dance, band, whatever you're excited about and able to do outside of just strictly lacrosse. I think it's super important. For me, I don't have any rhythm. I lost my good singing voice when puberty hit. So athletics was it for me. But I loved it.
Lost it. I never found it. So
And I think for me, multiple sports, playing soccer and basketball, lacrosse consistently. One, I think it helped me avoid burnout, especially as I got older and more serious with lacrosse. I only played, summer club, and then we'd have a couple fall ball tournaments, and then spring was high school. So it wasn't necessarily all year round like you guys are now, but fall for me meant soccer, and winter meant basketball, and then spring meant lacrosse, and summer meant lacrosse. And I think for me, having different things to focus on made me really excited to play other things, but also made me really excited once lacrosse season did come around. When spring came, it wasn't, I've been playing for 7 months. It was, I haven't touched my stick in a while. Like, I'm really excited to go play and to see my teammates. And so I think mentally playing other sports was like a great thing for me, to kind of take the pressure off and, not, if I screwed up in soccer, like, who cared? Like, I wasn't getting recruited. I wasn't going to go college. Like, the worst that was happened was like, my coach would yell at me, but our team was full of lacrosse players playing soccer. Like, we had a couple ODP girls, but for the most part, we were just athletes. And I think that was really important. I think, so many things translate over to lacrosse. So footwork and defense in basketball, endurance, field awareness in soccer, like that helped me when it came to lacrosse, which I also really liked. And I think I learned to play for different coaches. I played for, males, females, really strict, really loose, very technically oriented, very instinctually oriented. Like, so I learned kind of how to adapt. And I think that helped me throughout high school and college. But I also think it helped me come US, where you're thrown into systems that you have to figure out in a weekend. Mm-hmm. And so being able to adapt, I think I learned that at a young age, just going from sport to sport. Plus, they were a lot of fun. So I think whatever you guys are able to do, I know it's so hard to play 3 given the commitments for you guys, but even 2, I think it helps in so many areas besides just athletics.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you kind of obviously tapped on something that was so important there, but that adaptability piece is so key. And I think it's something that a lot of coaches, they see people as, or they see kids as, okay, that's my player, right? Like, that's my player on my lacrosse team. Like, they don't necessarily see them as this holistic person that plays other sports or has other hobbies or has other interests. So, just as players, just remember that those things are okay to have, right? You're going to play your role when you're at that practice or at that team, that team's game. Like, that's your priority right then and there. But at the same time, like, you have to know that your other interests and your other hobbies are also, they can be important to you, and you can put as much emphasis on them as you'd like, just because you ultimately are passionate about them. That's another thing that I think was so important that you said. So fast forwarding to recruiting. I know it's a heavy topic right now, heavy topic, just especially because I know there's a handful of us who are on this call who are at the age that are kind of getting there, getting ready for the recruiting years, but also there's a handful of us who are kind of stuck in the middle of it right now, especially with COVID happening. What was your recruiting process like, first and foremost? Give us a little story of that, and then I guess we can go into some of the questions that the girls have.
My recruiting process was pretty stressful, just as it is for everyone. And it was pretty fast, but it didn't feel fast. It felt like took forever. And I think a lot of that had to do with the buildup. I played for M&D and I was on it in 6th grade. So you kind of wait until like 11th grade. So you're basically like preparing for 5 years, and then it finally gets there and you're like, oh my gosh, it's recruiting summer. I have to go to so many camps. I have to go to so many showcases and tournaments. And so I think as an individual, it was like, this is a huge summer. And so it was a lot of pressure. Now, talking before my actual process, I think what helped me get through that was my team was very team oriented. And my coach basically said, if you guys go out and play and you play as a team, you're going to make each other look good. And then that's going to help you guys get recruited. So they're going to recruit you as the teammates you are, as well as individual players, which I think was really helpful. But anyway, fast forward to September 1st, it was, it's what the rule is now, which is good for you guys. I think, at one point we had 8th graders on campus at Maryland, which was insane. So September 1st of my junior year, get a ton of emails, get phone calls, really exciting, really stressful, trying to organize, things into files on my email and figuring out, what I wanted and talking to coaches. And, for me, I knew I wanted 3 things. First and foremost, I wanted to go to a good school where I could get a good education. I wanted to go to a good business school. So that was like primary for me, academic. And my dad always preached, you're not going to go make millions of dollars like NBA players. Like, you need to go get a degree that you can use. So we have to think school first. Yeah. Second, I wanted to be around a program and a part of a team that was a team first mentality, had a great culture, had a great balance of competing but having fun, because that's what I'd grown up with. And third, for me, I was somebody who wanted to compete for a national championship, and that was really important to me. Some of my teammates did not. Some wanted to, go mid D1, some wanted to go D2, D3, and which is, everyone's different, which I think was super important. And our coaches never forced us, okay, you all have to look top 10 D1. Like, he wanted us to find our place. And so those were kind of the 3 things I walked into recruiting, knowing right off the bat, like, that's what I wanted. Didn't know if I wanted public, private, close, far, big, small. I had no idea. So from there, I went on 2 Maryland visits, a UNC visit, a Duke visit. I was signed up to go to Notre Dame in Florida, and those are kind of like my top 5. And eventually I came down to Maryland and UNC. And I remember making, the pros and cons lists on my teacher's whiteboard. And I remember talking to my parents and my best friend, who was kind of like my sounding board. She was also getting recruited, but we were looking at different places. So it was nice to kind of have, somebody to bounce things off of. But I think what ultimately helped me make my decision was the fact that my coach, my M&D coach, said, go talk to somebody who's graduated from Maryland and someone who's graduated from UNC, and get like the real deal perspective on the program, what the coaches are like, what their experience was like, things they loved, things they hated. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think that kind of sealed it for me. The feeling I got out of talking to the Maryland alum was the feeling that I wanted to have when I left college. And so, that's what I suggest to my McDonough kids is, you're going to get a lot of, current players who, are trying to talk to you and schmooze you and get you to come. But the players who left, who have no stake in the game, those are the kind of the people you want to talk to. Yeah. So that's kind of how my process went. I ended up committing oh gosh, end of September. So pretty fast. But it was like a crazy 4 weekends of visits and calls and whatnot.
Wow. So you did all those visits back to back to back pretty much in
Pretty
September.
much. So I basically I visited Maryland once before September 1st because I went to like a camp or something. So I got to kind of see it there. And then I went basically Maryland, UNC Duke. And then like that last weekend, I was like, actually, I went UNC Duke, Maryland. And then after my last Maryland visit, I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, I want to commit.
Yeah.
Like, I got like the fuzzy feeling that they talk about, and there was no turning back.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that on another call that we were on, right, with the IWLCA, and how you had, when in your recruiting process, it's tough, right? You get down to the final 2, or you even get down to a final 5, and you're like, how am I supposed to make these decisions, especially as a 15, 16, 17-year-old girl who barely knows what's going on in high school. I know for me, it was 10th going into 11th grade. Like, I was just, you're still trying to find out who you are as a person, nonetheless, where you want to go in life. So I think that's so important to talk to someone who had gone through it in those alums. And, now being an alum from me at Stony Brook, right? It's the same thing. Like, you talk to anybody about their experiences, and everybody's got a different one. And I think that's what's also really cool. It's going to actually kind of segue into our next conversation here, but it's one of my favorite parts about post-collegiate lacrosse now is all these players like that you would be rivals with, you would play against in college, right? Like, your home was your team, and it was us against the world, our locker room versus your locker room type of thing. And then now post-collegiately, it's, you have all these different people from all these different colleges, and they might have been your rivals on the field, but now they got to be your teammate. And now you got to kind of work together and kind of form those friendships, and it's friendships you never thought that you'd have too. And I think that's so special. So I think, kind of, again, just tying that in, right? Like, you're an alum now. You're one of the ones who gets to look back at Maryland and be able to tell some of these girls about your experiences and your real life experiences there. Now going into the WPLL being a thing, and you get to continue your career playing lacrosse, doing the thing that you love. What was that like post collegiately for you, recognizing that you could continue to do this?
So when I graduated, that's when the UWLX first started. So my senior spring was the UWLX draft for the first ever professional women's lacrosse league. And I remember a week and a half after the national championship, Kayla Trainer and I were standing on a field in Massachusetts playing a professional game. And we were like, wow, like,
really quickly.
I can't believe we're playing again, but like, it's really cool, but I miss my team, but like, this is our new reality. And like, this is really exciting. It was the first kind of few months after graduating were tough. I think you're trying to figure out your next phase, right? You talked about going to college and playing college lacrosse, and then after college lacrosse, you're kind of like, what's next? And I think I was so fortunate, and you're so fortunate, that we never really had that gap, like a year or 2 gap where we didn't play other than US. And we do have the WPLL league. And I think that's really exciting, and something that, you guys on this call, like, you have something to aspire to post college that Kylie and I didn't have growing up. It wasn't a thing until I was 21 years old. So I think for you guys, like, it's a great opportunity to set your goals even higher than college lacrosse. Even US for me, I didn't dream of being on the US team. I never thought I was going to be at that level. For a while, I dreamed of being on the US soccer team, and then that went away very quickly, but still a big fan.
We can still be friends with them, right?
But it wasn't until I was placed on the team after World Cup, after the 2013 World Cup. They had a bunch of retired players leave, and they basically needed players. So me and Kayla Trainer and Alex Aust and Taylor Trimble just got thrown in there, and I was like, whoa, I don't belong. But then you start like that dream soon became like a reality. And so, where it was something that I wanted that I'd not wanted previously. And so I think for you guys, like, you're at a great age where you can kind of set your goals in stages, and the sky's the limit for you guys. You're going to be the ones playing in the Olympics. Like I won't be. I will be 34 at the earliest, and I will be in the stands cheering hard. But but you guys have that, and I think it's something that it's so special, and it shouldn't be taken for granted. And I think everything that you're doing now, all this work mentally and physically, there are those little building blocks to get you there.
Yes, absolutely. I love what you said about setting your goals in stages, right? Because a lot of times, and it's something that you say all the time is, dream big, but sometimes life happens, right? And you have goals that you didn't even know that you had, right? Or you had dreams come up that you wouldn't have even known that you had without the life experiences that kind of add up to them. So I love that, because I actually didn't know that about your experience with Team USA and your goals with that. So look at me, I'm learning things too, girls. I love it. So I think, a little bit more about, I actually skipped over this, and this is something that I very much so want to ask, but back to college days, what was it like to win not one, but 2 national championships?
That was something that I dreamed of for a long time. Once I decided that college lacrosse was what I wanted to do, winning a national championship was like my goal with that. And it's something that was really important for me in my recruiting process. And then when I got to Maryland, it was something that came to fruition, but it took a ton of hard work. And I think, I went to 4 throughout my career, and I won 2 and I lost 2. And the wins, when we won my sophomore year with a team that had lost Alex Oswich, who was the reigning player attacker of the year, Katie Haas, who is the reigning midfielder of the year, Ileana Sanza, who is the reigning defender of the year. We lost our entire defense. We were ranked like 7th or 8th in the polls, I think, going into the season. And I think that one was really special because we were kind of a team that had lost the year before in triple overtime, which if you haven't watched that game, I've never watched that game, but
Never watched it.
Apparently it's really awesome.
You've never watched it?
No, I can't.
I was going to ask.
It's too painful. Even, 8 years later, it still hurts.
It's okay. I have a game like that as well.
But, to win after losing that and feeling such heartbreak, to go back and win and have those dreams kind of come to fruition. I wish I'd had like a mental like video stream of like everything, all the sights and sounds that I was seeing, because it's like a happiness you can't describe. Mm-hmm. But then losing is like a pain you can't describe, where it hits you in your gut, and it feels, whether you lose in Elite 8 or Final 4, anything less than, once you have your heart set on a national championship, anything less than winning sucks. And it kind of takes the air out of you. So winning is great. But I think, what was really cool for me was my senior year, we got our butts kicked. And I walked off, and my dad was like, "Are you okay?" And I remember looking at him and being like, I won 2, I lost 4 games in college. I'm good. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to win with a different team. I would have rather lost with this team than won with somebody else. And I think for me, that kind of came full circle. Like, that's where I was supposed to be. Like, I wouldn't trade this bad feeling to go win with somebody else. And I think for you guys, when you're going through your process, if that's the route you want to take, like, that's where you want to find your home. And I'm sure you felt the same way with Stony Brook. You would have rather lost with them than won with somebody else. And 100%. That's what you guys should be focusing on, is like finding that home that makes feeling those bad things okay, because it's worth it to have gone through the journey with them.
I love that. Give me chills. Right, girls? Anybody else? I love it. But yeah, I think that's something that I definitely like. I think that of course, like you mentioned, won 2, lost 2, but you are so lucky to have won those 2, like you mentioned. It is such an awesome thing. I can imagine, like, there are only a handful, and this is something that I forget what podcast I was just listening to, but someone had mentioned, there's only a handful of people in every sport that are able to say that they're either a gold medalist or they play for Team USA, or there's only a handful of people in every sport that can say that they've won national championships as well. So it's such a special thing. So I love that you were able to share those experiences with us as well. I think, just kind of mentioning quickly, we talked a little bit about Team USA, but, again, just to kind of tie this in, what was it like to win a gold medal in 2017? Like, what was that trip like? For those of the girls that don't know where you guys went and what the World Cup was like in 2017, what were some of your favorite memories from there?
So winning a gold medal was like a completely different experience because basically on US, you go through a 4-year tryout. So you're basically trying out for 4 years until you make the World Cup roster. And so I think a win in itself for me was making that roster and being like, whew, I did it. I remember crying when Ricky called me. I think partially out of nerves and partially out of like relief of it, just that process being over. But our World Cup in 2017 was in London. So we went to London and we basically were gone the entire month of July of 2017. We had a 1-week training week off location at a different town in England. That was a little bit more relaxed. We got to go to the Harry Potter set in the Warner Brothers Harry Potter set out in London, which was so cool. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so that was like the coolest day, one of the coolest days of my life.
How many times have you read the series through?
3 times, but I read it over quarantine, so I read all 7 books in like 5 weeks. So
oh no, okay,
I had a lot of time.
Don't hate me. I've never read or seen any of the movies.
Oh my gosh, Kylie.
I know. I'll do that after.
Books next one. They're but anyway, so we had a training week, and then we basically played 8 games in 10 days. Once World Cup started. For you guys, you sometimes play 8 games in a weekend, but for us, that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. It was definitely really tough, pretty grueling to say the least. And we ended up, you're playing against a bunch of different countries. The cool thing is, most of the countries we played against had American players on them. So you knew people on each team, which was really cool. But you also got to meet a ton of people who you'd never met before. We saw different cultures and the way they prepared for games, and, the way New Zealand prepared for games. They did like a ritual dance beforehand, and it was really, really cool to kind of be around so much excitement from so many different countries. We ended up playing Canada in the championship and won, and it was a freezing cold, like rainy England game. I think the coolest part from that game was when we won and we were getting our medals, it was downpouring, but then they like had these big flame shooters coming up. So it was like a really cool, like, you're freezing cold, you want to go inside, but like, this is an awesome moment and it looks really cool in the pictures. And it was a really special thing to be a part of. I think my favorite thing about US is you're just representing something so much bigger than yourself, and to win, the ultimate gold on foreign soil and represent your country was just a huge honor. And I think my dad, it's probably his like proudest moment is like being there and seeing me do that. So it was really cool. And now World Cup 21 is in Maryland, so you guys can drive there, so hopefully you guys can all go and experience that.
Yeah, we see some excited faces there. But yes, next summer, 2021, July 7th, I believe it starts. Yep. Towson, Maryland. So that's a special thing, girls. Every 4 years, and every once in a blue moon, the U.S. gets to host it. So right here on home turf, that'll be really exciting to kind of be there for. I would also like to kind of just talk about, I know that you and a lot of you girls also follow Taylor on not only Instagram, but her YouTube channel as well. I know that YouTube is something that you love to do, right? Like it's something that you put a lot of pride into. And I respect it because I also, I tried and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of, thinking up new ideas, creativity, and just a lot of the behind the scenes work that goes into like a 2-minute video, right? Like it's a lot of stuff. So I know that there's a lot of hard work that goes into that, but I know just kind of segueing into something that you most recently talked about on your YouTube channel, and something that I know that you're very outwardly spoken about on your social channels. And I think it's incredible because it's something that one, a lot of us girls, no matter our age, right, it's something that we always grow up thinking about. Like we're just always thinking about our body image, especially as female athletes, but just as women or as people in general, just kind of like being comfortable in your own skin, and always having that look to your left, look to your right, comparing yourself to someone, whether it's, how long your legs are or how fast you can run, or, your tummy compared to someone else, like whatever it might be. And I think just ultimately finding that confidence to be proud in your own skin and be able to know like what your superpowers are and be able to own them. So I think just kind of segueing into your videos about that, like what were some of, if you girls haven't checked it out, like you got to go check out Taylor's YouTube channel and her new videos on just talking about her experience with body image. And, I think, why is it such an important topic for you to talk about with your girls and with anybody who's willing to listen?
I think for one, I think talking about it continues to help me. So the more I talk about it, I think the more you kind of take away any stigma. And it's the same thing with mental health, eating disorders. It goes always, in terms of, the more you talk about it, the easier it is and the less kind of weird or scary or vulnerable it makes you. But for me, body image was something I struggled with pretty much since I was your guys' age. As an athlete, I was not stick skinny. My mom always jokes like I was born with thighs. And if you look at my dad, I have his build to a T, and big thighs, broad shoulders, lean and muscular, but still muscular. And, as a young elementary school kid, didn't care, completely unaware of, that insight and that, focusing on what other people thought. I just was a kid having fun. And it wasn't until probably about middle school, like 6th, 7th grade, where you start thinking about social dynamics, and you're trying to, figure out what's cool and on trend. And, that's when I started to realize like I wasn't a size 0. I didn't fit into, the super, super skinny, low rise Hollister jeans that everybody was fitting into. And that was really tough for me. And I remember crying in dressing rooms and just not understanding that, like, putting two and two together, like my body helps me play sports, or my body, makes me run faster than the boys. It just didn't correlate. And it was something I struggled with for a while. And then, puberty hits and you grow. And I think that became less of a thing. I also think once I got to high school, I kind of found my place socially, with other athletes. I really wasn't friends with many athletes in middle school. And so being around athletes who looked like me, who felt the way I did, it wasn't so bad when you were with other people experiencing the same thing. And between feeling more comfortable socially and growing, high school was pretty easy for me in terms of my body image, but also like in terms of my relationship with food. Like I ate what I want. I would go to Chick-fil-A all the time and get, nugs and a milkshake and French fries, and I'd eat anything. And it just wasn't it. I love that high school metabolism. And high school was fine for me. And I think once I got to college, that started to those negative thoughts started to creep in again. That vulnerability, that figuring out where you are socially, figuring out, college throws a bunch of different things at you. And, for me, the way I coped was I, would eat, and I ended up, gaining, the classic freshman 15. It didn't hurt my athletics at all. I was playing every game, I played every minute, but I would come home and not really like the way I looked in the mirror. And I remember being really just unsure and upset and not really knowing what to do. And I blamed lifting a lot. And, I'm somebody who can put on muscle very, very quickly. And so that was an easier, like, oh, it's lifting. It's not the fact that I'm not running and working out, or, you know, eating Chipotle and Panda Express within 2 hours of each other, or, going out and doing things socially with my teammates that I hadn't done in high school. And, I think it took for me like a little more self-control, and realizing that how I was treating my body wasn't helping me, and either mentally, emotionally, or physically. And so I started eating better and exercising more, and kind of got myself to a good spot again. I felt great. I was playing well, and felt super confident socially and with myself. And I think, right around after 2014, where we won the national championship, I won Taunton. That summer, I was entering a new relationship. And I think I started to realize that a lot of people were taking photos of me, or I was in magazines, or, I probably wasn't in them more than, I had been before. But for some reason, I was very aware of how visible I was, whether it was, camp photos, or Instagram. Like Instagram was becoming really popular. And I think for me, I was like, that shifted me to like, oh gosh, I don't look that great in that photo. Like, I'm going to work out a little bit more. And then it started to be like, okay, well, I'm working out more, but I'm still eating like Chick-fil-A all the time. So I'm going to cut back on what I'm eating. And it got to a point where I was working out like 2 to 3 times a day and eating barely enough to sustain myself and keep from passing out. And that pretty much was like 7 months of my life. And, I had teammates who, tried to help and step in and be like, what's going on? Is everything okay? You look really skinny. And something I mentioned in my video, like, I think one of the things that hurt me was the validation of being like, oh, you look really skinny. And it wasn't them being like, no, you look great. It was like, no, there's something wrong. But I didn't take it as that. Anything that made me feel like, oh, okay, it's working, like other people are noticing, that kind of fed the beast. And it wasn't until, I had my fall meeting with Kathy, and she was like, you played fine, but like, not great, not what you used to do. And, what's going on? Like, there's something going on. She could tell. And I got really defensive. And it wasn't until like I kind of almost realized like, okay, I'm losing lacrosse. I'm losing my teammates. I'm losing my happiness. Like, I'm not happy. I'm angry all the time. I'm hungry all the time. That I really was like, you need to get yourself in check. And so I basically spent all of Thanksgiving and winter break basically like writing down what I was eating to make sure I was eating enough, and writing down what I was exercising to make sure I wasn't over exercising, and using that as like a way to keep myself in check. And eventually, I got to a spot where I started to have a healthier relationship with food, a healthier relationship with exercise. It takes a lot of work. But, it's been like 5 years since I've been kind of in a really low spot. And I think for you guys, it's really important, one, to realize we all look in the mirror and we all have things we don't like. And, for me, I've broken my nose 4 times. I've busted my lip. I have like a droopy lip. You know, there's days my thighs are still big. I got a big butt. Like there's things that, you know, I look that are unique to me. But I think the thing that really helped me and hopefully can help you guys is every time I had a negative thought from junior year on, I'd be like, okay, you know, my thighs look big today, but I'd be like, well, my thighs help me run fast, or, you know, my broad shoulders help me win the draw, or, you know, my broken nose makes me, you know, that's what it is. That's my new face and it looks great and I'm pretty and we're just going to deal with it, you know? And I think for you guys, like that positive self-talk, the more you can talk positively to yourself, there's people in your life that are telling you positive things. And I think once you start hearing it internally, then you're more open and welcome to the positivity that's coming to you. Because my friends were like, Taylor, you're beautiful, like you're strong, like you don't need to do this. But it isn't until you start really believing in yourself and having those conversations with yourself that you really start to hear the outside feedback. So I've been, you know, pretty much 5 years since that eating disorder. And it's still tough for me to talk about. But I think, you know, I coach high school. I see so many kids going through it, both who I coach and, you know, I've had teammates and friends do the same and go through the same. And I think the more you can talk about it and find people who have been through it, the easier it is. And for me, I didn't go to therapy, but I know people who have. And it's just about finding, you know, what works for you and what you need to get through.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for, you know, sharing that story. I know you did it on your YouTube channel, but of course, just like here and being able to, like you said, I think at the end is so important. One, the self-talk is huge, because I think that, you know, no matter what you're struggling with, girls, no matter what it is, we're all struggling with something internally. But if you can also flip those negative switches around into some sort of positive, like I love what you said. Like I broke my nose 6 times as well. So it's something that I see when I look in the mirror. Yeah. And I'm just like, hey, that's awesome. Like now I can tell people, you know, if people didn't know that I played lacrosse before, or that I played all sorts of different sports, like that's my story. You know, like you see a crooked nose, that's because somebody, you know, punched me in the face in the middle of the game, you know, whatever it might be, but that's not the actual story. But, you know, I think just finding the positivity and continuing to repeat it in your head as well. And that works for, you know, not only the body image, and looking in the mirror and telling yourself positive things as well, but on the fields when you're making mistakes, and when you feel like you're having a bad game or you're having a bad day, or things are not going your way socially, things are not going your way in the classroom, you know, different things negative things are going to happen in life. And the way that you can, like you said, let the people around you who are trying to help you and uplift you, let their thoughts kind of seep in and let their words kind of seep in and really make them internal, and practice them yourself. The more you can do that, the same way you practice wall ball just as much as you do, the more you do it, the more reps you get, the better off you're going to get with your stick, right? And the more comfortable you're going to get with your stick. It's the same thing with repeating those really positive self-talk. Just continue to repeat it to yourself and it'll become normal and comfortable. So thank you for that, Taylor. I think, you know, super important message for not only the girls on this call, but just myself as well. You know, I think it's important to know that no matter what kind of platform you have and no matter what kind of surroundings you have, it's also very important to be vulnerable, because you never know, you know, what people are going through. I think that was actually our Kylie's Corner habit this week. Was one of our quotes was, you know, be kind, for, you know, everyone you meet is battling a struggle that, you know, battling a fight that you know nothing about. So we had kind of worked on that as well earlier this week. So I love that we were talking about that a little bit. But, you know, we have about 7 minutes left here before Taylor and I have to hop on another call that we're really excited about. But one more, you know, important question before I we got to get into some of our questions from KO17 Lacrosse. You guys wrote some questions in on our Instagram, and I thought these were really creative ones. So I'm excited to talk about them. But Taylor, why do you wear number 21? Do you have a story behind that, or is it just your favorite number?
So I never wore 21 until college. I was either 10 or 14. 14 was my dad's number. And then 14 was retired in soccer at McDonough. So I ended up being 10. And so those were like my two numbers growing up. And when I got to college, Alex Oss was 10 and Ileana Sanza, defender of the year, was 14. So those were not options for me. And so I was given 21. And from there, it's just been my number since 2012. So I identify with that number more than I do any other number now, but it was never a number until then.
Awesome. All right. If there was a dream spot you would want to play a WPLL game at, where would that be?
Ooh. I've always wanted to go to Greece or Australia. So, obviously if Corona was gone and we could travel, that would be my dream. I'd love to go play on like the beach in Australia. I think that would be cool. If they ever decide to foot that bill, I'll be there.
I will be right there alongside you. I'll spend a nice little month there vacationing and exploring. Awesome. Two more here. What your favorite game that we have played together in on the fight or with Team USA?
I think anytime we can play against Canada, I had I think the last time we had Fall Classic where we played them under the lights was really cool. Mm-hmm. That's just, I feel like that's what makes US really unique is you get to play against other countries, and Canada's our biggest rival. So anytime we can play them, I love, and playing under the lights is my favorite. So that's kind of one of the favorite ones I've had.
Me too. That was definitely a very memorable one. It was gorgeous out too. Nice. Okay, this one I love as well, kind of ties into everything that you've been talking about, but how do you gain confidence on the field, especially after you make a mistake or having a bad game?
I think the best thing is I have such amazing teammates that, they give me confidence. So if I screw up, if I miss a shot, if I, miss a slide, it's always like, I make it a point to be like, my bad, like that was me. But what ends up happening right away is you have teammates coming up, be like, you're fine, don't worry about it, you got the next one. And even if I'm feeling that doubt, they believe in me, and I try to reciprocate that to my teammates as well. And I think for you guys, like if you can create that culture within your teams where it's okay to make mistakes because your teammates have your back and you have each other's back, then that helps you create confidence all over again. But I think the big thing is also that positive talk. You're gonna screw up. We all screw up. I throw bad passes. I miss shots. I go early on the draw. Everything in between. And Kylie and I play at the highest level, so you guys are expected to do that and more. Mm-hmm. So it's okay. Just learning from your mistakes and then moving on, I think, is the biggest thing.
Awesome. All right, we got a quick little speed round for you before we wrap up. But okay, fun ones here. And on a fun note, we love to do that here. But go-to breakfast meal.
Oh gosh, I'm not a big breakfast eater, but when I do, I love a good acai bowl.
Ooh, good one. All right, favorite genre of music?
Country. That's pretty much all I listen to.
Me too, right? Okay, what was your best concert you've ever been to?
I went to Kenny Chesney for like 5 years in a row, so probably him or Luke Bryan. Those are two of my favorites.
Awesome. What's your favorite board or card game? Favorite game?
Board game, I love Trouble. Card game, Greg and my boyfriend, have been playing Five Crowns quite a bit. It's like gin rummy kind of. So those have been our quarantine go-tos.
Okay, tacos or pizza?
Probably tacos, but I do love pizza as well.
Friday night pizza night.
Yeah.
All right, and last but not least, favorite place to shop for clothes?
Target, all the way. Really cheap and great stuff. So yeah. I'm always the person who walks in needing 2 things and leaving with 20.
I think we can all attest to that. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know we have another call to be on with Team USA, but I know from everyone here at KO17 Lacrosse and anyone that's going to see any of these videos, thank you so much for all of your wisdom for us tonight. I know these girls learned so much from you, from how you play and how, kind of ferocious you are on the field, but you're such an awesome person off the field. And I think that's such an incredible dual threat that, you girls should definitely take into your lives as well. Find what you're passionate about, keep that positive self-talk going no matter what it is, and you always have us to reach out to if you need anything at all. But thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Taylor, so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks, guys. Hope you guys are staying safe and getting back on the field soon.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a good night. See you in a couple, T.
All right. See ya.